when we start talking about networking. But tonight, I just wanted to remind you guys really quickly to do a couple of things. Number one, please make sure you're reading the chapters. It will make your final test a lot easier if you are reading the chapters. For this week, we are in chapters 11, 4, and 5. I wanted to state that. Chapter 4 begins the conversation about online presence. So I asked you guys last week to identify one person you can start to network with through a tool we call informational interviewing. Basically, you're just picking that person's brain to get an idea, get some feedback from them, rather, on your long term goals. And in that assignment, it just asks you to give a name, which most of you did. So just make sure that you talk to that person before this Wednesday, I believe. That will hopefully set you up to understand, when we talk about networking tomorrow, why it's so important to network with people. One other tool that you'll use to network is social media. Let's just be honest. Social media is ingrained in who we are right now. It wasn't when I was starting my career, but right now it's like if you don't have an online presence, it will be very difficult for you to grow a business for sure. But even as you work your way up through the corporate ladder, people expect to see you online. They expect you to post things on your LinkedIn accounts. They expect you to share information like you're the subject matter expert, right? So you should be out there presenting yourself as such. So what chapter 4 talks about is the importance of having an online presence. And tomorrow, well, I'll let you know statistically how many recruiters are actually looking online. And I'll give you a hint, like the majority of them, right? What chapter 4 does ask you to do, though, is just to be mindful of a couple of things. One is privacy. You know, Unfortunately, wherever there are opportunities to engage with people, there will be bad actors. There will be people that are looking to take advantage of others. So that's why we talk about being careful with sharing any of your information online, whether you have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. Just be mindful. Sometimes we're not mindful of that. We tell too much of our location. We talk too much about going out of town. Like you don't know who is trying to determine, where does this person live, for example, because sometimes we put our address on our resume and there could be bad actors that, like it happens a lot with celebrities, right? Celebrities have a tendency to say a lot of things about what they're doing because they're trying to promote themselves. But a lot of these bad actors have also, found where these people live because some of them, you know, don't realize you shouldn't really even put your real estate in your own name because, that's public, right? So if you're Brad Pitt, for example, and you have a home under Brad Pitt, people can look that up easily. It's public information. And then Brad Pitt's on his social media account talking about he's about to go to Europe, like you're setting yourself up for failure, right? And a lot of celebrities that has happened to them in the past. Not to say that somebody's going to do that to you, but that is just one extreme example of why it's really important to be careful with your online presence. You want to have one, but you also want to be smart about it. And then lastly, just know that most things that you post online, if a company or if a tech savvy person wanted to find it, they could. So you really have to be careful when you post stuff. If you're the type of person that likes to engage with others on Yahoo, Twitter, whatever, any, modality that you like to engage on, just be mindful that, if people wanted to do their research, they could. Now, clearly, you may say, well, who's going to care about what I post? Maybe, maybe not. I'll tell you, I had a supervisor. Matter of fact, it wasn't even a supervisor, it was a CEO. And a CEO in New York, and I was a chief development officer. And she ran into my office because she said that she had set up Google alerts. And anytime someone had, anytime our company's name was anywhere on the internet, she would get notified. And so what happened was one of our employees was looking for another job, and so he must have posted his resume somewhere or something happened and she got an alert, and she was so upset about it. Like, she wanted to fire him because she felt blindsided that he was looking for employment. And I don't know. I mean, even to this day, and that was like almost 15 years ago, but that kind of stuck with me. I'm like, ew, like that is so, to me, invasive. Like, you you telling me somebody can't look for a job?
Oh, yeah.
Like that's, hold on, that is really weird, right? But people do it. So just be mindful that, people will look you up, companies will look you up, HR departments will look you up. It really just depends, and you don't want them to find anything negative. So if you say, "Well, Miss Taylor, well, what am I supposed to be able to do about that?" Maybe I do have Twitter fingers, and I do like to have a good banter with political whatever. I would just say you want to taper that. Listen, when you become a professional, there is a reason why you don't see a lot of corporate people doing social media, right? It's because they have an image to uphold, whether it's for their own business or whether it's someone else's, right? You'll see people that own their own business, or people in school, or people that, don't aren't in positions where it will matter, but you won't see, like, you're not going to see a doctor, you know, out here doing too much, not under his or her own name anyway, because it could affect them. Can you imagine? Like, how would you feel if your doctor, had these really strange views, and then you're like going in and this person's like putting you on anesthesia if it's a dentist or whatever, and knowing how they feel about you wasn't favorable. I don't know if you guys heard about the dentist in California. Did you guys hear about that dentist in California that got in those big lawsuits? Well, what happened was, yeah, a couple years ago, she she was, really pro one political party, and she was very vocal about it, and somehow she had these videos that she had made, and they were online, and in one of the videos she had stated that once she found out that her clients, her patients rather, had opposing views from her, that she didn't give them as much laughing gas as others, and she thought that was the most hilarious thing ever. So if anybody was in the VA program, I know you guys aren't, but that is like red flags all over the place. I mean, even though you're not getting your license in medicine, you already know that that's a violation of her license. And even though that was done a few years ago, somehow it came back up. And right now, she's in jeopardy of losing her license, and she has several lawsuits from her patients, all because she felt it necessary to post her political view online. Like, is it worth it? Back in the day, we used to just sit around our porch, our backyard, chit chat with our neighbors and our friends and family about our political views. Why people feel the need to do it now publicly is beyond me. I would advise against it, right? They say things you don't talk about in the corporate world is what? Anybody remember religion and politics? Those are like two no-nos, right? I'm really taken aback that people even ask those questions nowadays. I would advise against it. Yeah, it's an era thing for me, and next week we'll be talking about generations and how that will affect, you managing others. But in my generation, Generation X, we did not talk about money, we did not talk about politics, and we did not talk about religion. Those were like off limits at work, right? Because it could cause so much disparity, with your coworkers, So I'm really shocked that people ask those questions, so openly now, like, oh, what party are you with? Like, that used to be like a sacred thing that you didn't talk about. So, again, I would advise against it. You want to be careful. You can even start your professional journey now. If you have a Google account, if you have Yahoo, whatever, go ahead and start promoting yourself. There's nothing wrong with putting your name and a tagline at the bottom of your emails to let people know who you are, what you're about, that this is your profession, you're taking it serious, and you want people to start to look at you that way. It will take time to build your reputation, so start now. I would encourage people to even start on your accounts. Like, for example, if you have like a LinkedIn account or a Instagram account or a Twitter account, maybe you have one personal, I would say make one professional as well, right? I would even advise against keeping your personal and professional together because maybe you have some stuff that you want to share with your friends and family, but start a professional account, because what happens is when you post a lot of stuff and someone wants to like, you guys ever like gone to like Google and you type in someone's name and then things pop up, right? Well, the same will happen for you. And what you post more frequently, more recently as well, are the things that will pop up, right? It's almost like you want that algorithm to kind of, push some of the stuff that you've done older down, right? Not that you're ashamed of it or whatever, but if you're trying to build your brand, you really want to think about posting some relevant things onto the internet. That is my advice to you. Right? So when we talk about networking, which we'll really dig in tomorrow, yes, it is going to be important to have an online presence because that is how most people connect nowadays. Most people connect via some type of social platform. Networking is not hard. That's why we wanted you guys to practice. It's not a hard thing. All it is talking to people. We do it all the time. Think about how many times you've ever gone to someone and say, "Hey, can I run something past you? Hey, what do you think about this? Hey, can I get your feedback on that?" You do it all the time. And what you may not realize is that is networking. So the only difference is you do it with a stranger, right? You can do it with people in this class. Do it with your instructors. You can even do it on LinkedIn. And when we get to LinkedIn and setting up our LinkedIn accounts, I'm going to show you. You can like go and DM people. That is the one place on social media accounts out of all of them where DMs are welcomed. Like you can DM CEOs and they welcome it because if they didn't want that interaction, they wouldn't even have it available on their accounts. They want the feedback. Why? Because it's free. Let's be honest, guys. Back in the day, companies paid a lot of money for marketing and feedback. Now, all they have to do is open up a social account and get all the feedback that they want. So they want that interaction from you, right? Just you want to keep it professional. So you can actually get feedback from so many different people. You'd be surprised. You may even notice it. I don't know if anyone uses Reddit. Anyone ever use Reddit? Ever heard of that platform? Well, Reddit, people go on there and it's like little different chat forums for, I'm sure they have electrical and all that in all of your industries on there. I use it for my field, like the legal field. I use it for just to learn about what's happening in the tech field. And people are on there all the time asking for advice. I mean, you would be surprised, clearly what's happening with the government now. I see a lot of government people on there because I was a government contractor. So I follow it. And I've seen people ask about, hey, should I become a patent attorney or should I become an agent? Should I start my own business with this? Should I go back to school for that? And people actually respond to them. People give them advice. Like you would be surprised how much people are willing to give people advice, right? So don't think that people are not willing to give you advice. People like it, right? Because nobody minds engaging with you on a professional level. It's when you start to get personal that people, have, certain feelings about that. But I would encourage you to learn about Reddit, what's her name? I think Serena Williams' husband. He's one of the co-founders of that. Just throw that out there. But I found it to be, a good place to engage with others in your industry. And I've even seen people post jobs on there, not even like as a company, but just people saying, "Hey, my company is looking for so and so. If you guys know anybody." So I encourage you to use that website. Reddit is his name is Reddit. Now, if you could see my face right now. I am currently not a fan of X, and it is because I was such a fan of Twitter. So I do view X under the Twitter lens, and I am so disappointed. Anybody has a Twitter account? Anybody ever used Twitter? Give me a thumbs up if you've ever used Twitter. I used to use Twitter as a huge news platform. I felt that I could go to Twitter if I were interested in Coca-Cola. I could go to their Coca-Cola site. I could, have, connect with them and I can find out everything that's going on with Coca-Cola. It was so reputable, right? Now, if you go on there, anybody have an X account? Is it me or is it like it is so propaganda filled, so politically charged. I never saw that type of stuff, unless you seek it out on Twitter, and I didn't seek out those accounts. Now I don't even seek out those accounts, and all this negative stuff pops up on my platform. I hate it. I hate it. But so I say use it at your discretion. I cannot recommend it. Obviously, the book talks about it. But again, you can have an X account, just make sure that you be careful what you're connected to because yes, people will check to see who you're connected to. I know you're like saying, dang, that's a little invasive. They do, people do, and people are so politically charged now that you just don't even want to go down that rabbit hole of having someone judge you, just like we were talking about with interviewing or bias that we talked about on Monday. Like you just don't want to have any of that drama surrounding you. So people do judge, what you're connected to. They will try to look it up. Now, in their defense is sometimes because they've had really bad experiences with employees. I'm sure we've all worked somewhere with an employee that we were like, oh my goodness, we're so glad they're gone, right? So, sometimes companies are really, really careful with that and they will try to do as much research as possible. And I'm telling you now, if you do have a Twitter account or a LinkedIn account, especially the company that interviews you, or they're going to look you up. They're going to look you up. And that's why I say you should look them up too. That's one of the reasons why I tell you get the first and last name of the person you're going to interview with and look them up on LinkedIn. I do it all the time. It's a little cheat sheet for me. Now, you don't want to be weird and start rattling off things that's on their account. But if you notice something, maybe you guys grew up in the same town, maybe they are talking about they have a dog or something and you have one, maybe they used to play hockey, you did. If it happens to come up, you can mention it. Or if nothing else, maybe it just takes some of the edge off. You don't have so much anxiety if you kind of feel like you know what the person is about. That's why I use it because I want to get a sense of who I'm talking to. Maybe if I see a face with a name, it just for me it makes me more comfortable. So they're going to do the same for you. So you may as well do the same with them, right? That interviewing process is a two-way street. Now, when it comes to Instagram, anybody have an Instagram account? Okay, one, two. Okay. I know most of us probably use, I'm close, surely you use it mostly for personal. I am going to strongly encourage you to get a separate professional account unless you have very minimal stuff on your personal account, like you don't have a lot of, things that you wouldn't want your boss to look at. Not that it's anything inappropriate, but sometimes people don't like to share that type of stuff with their company. Um, also, know this a lot of companies will ask to link with you. I had a company that I worked for, and the first thing the CEO was like, okay, let's connect on LinkedIn because they want you to promote their company. So be ready for that. Or they'll ask you to link on Instagram. And some people feel a certain way about that. So I always tell people if it's an Instagram account, just open up a separate one, right? Just open up a company one. That way, if your boss asks you to do that, whatever, I don't care. There's nothing on here but professional stuff anyway. And clearly, if it's an Instagram account, now I'm going to tell you, I do feel a little bit about that because for me it was because I always had dual careers. I've always been an educator, but I've always been a consultant or worked in finance or something like that. And sometimes I just didn't want to have one industry. Like, what is she talking about with that? Because it could be two totally different things, right? So I just didn't want that drama. Um, but whatever, some other times too, a lot of your colleagues will want to connect with you on LinkedIn, which I think is great, but also some people may not like that, right? Because maybe you want to put some stuff on your LinkedIn account you don't want others to see, right? It's up to you, use your discretion, but I do just want to make you aware of the fact that companies will ask you to link with them. Now, maybe not for the industries that some of you are going into, but sometimes it just depends on the business. Now, if you go to work for a smaller business, sometimes they're not even into social media. Sometimes they are, and sometimes they're like, hey, I need you to help promote the company, put all this out on your social media. Just be aware of it. With your LinkedIn account, that's an easy one because it's supposed to be professional anyway. But if you have like an Instagram account, especially, I see companies ask about Instagram more so than Facebook, then I would say just open up a business one and do it that way, if at all, right? But I think you should open up a business account anyway. All right. Now, the important thing is to understand that, when you're doing all this networking, guys, this is lifelong. Your networking process is not going to stop, right? Um, you want to, again, focus on only positive things about yourself, positive things when you are posting. If you don't like something, don't say anything. That is my humble, I'm just, because you never know. You don't know if the boss is pro whatever you are against, right? So use social media in a positive way. Um, I would say think of it, as a tool to promote yourself the same way, um, businesses and entertainers use it to promote themselves, right? So you want to use it in the same way. All right, so enough about that. So lastly, here is your discussion question. I wanted to make sure I give you some time to prep for what you guys have going on in a few minutes. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to think about three things. I'm sorry, three places and or people. So it could be two of one of the other that you may use to grow your network. And which ones are you using now? I'll give you a hint. So, school should be definitely one, if nothing at all. The people in your classroom. Like, is there anybody here that has a social media account that are connected to someone in school? Maybe not this class, but in any of your classes. Has anyone connected with anyone in any of their classes on social media yet? Wow. Mm, I'm shocked. I'm going to tell you guys, I'm not trying to push you to connect to your instructors, but think about it this way. I've been teaching this class for many years now, and I probably have over 500 students that have gone through my class, and probably at least half of that are connected to me on LinkedIn. Why is that important? If you connect with me and I'm just doing it to support you, I mean, I don't get anything out of it. Um, they post, oh, I got a new job. Some post they started their own business. Some post that their company's hiring. If you're connected, is one easy way to connect to others. So, if nothing, at least connect to the people in your classroom. That is my advice to you. All right. So with that being said, your classroom could be one. Maybe you're in the field or some type of alternative or adjacent career you're in. Maybe there. Maybe it's a family member that's in the business. So just think about who and give me three. Where could be any platform: Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever you want to do. All right. Because I want to know for participation. Three places and or people you may use to grow your network, and which ones are you using now? All right, my friends, again, please try to read chapter 4. Start to read chapter 5 if you can. We're going to spend a lot of time, not a lot of time, but we'll spend a little bit more time tomorrow talking about networking. So I want you to read up on it if you can. Go ahead, Alexander. You had a question? All right. So I'm going to use the rest of this time to stay back and talk to anybody that may have any questions about their work. Everyone else, you're free to go. I will stay back for anyone that needs that time. Both today and tomorrow, I will hold office hours, if you will, here in the classroom for anyone that needs it. If you don't need it, it's fine. You're free to leave. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.
Have a good night.
Have a good night.